Hello everybody and welcome back to Dollar Tree Dinners. My name is Rebecca and today we're going to be making a Dollar Tree Easter dinner. I know Easter is still 2 weeks away. I would like to ideally have my holiday menus out about 10 to 14 days before the actual holiday to make sure that you guys have time to plan your menus and your budget. I have certain guidelines that I follow whenever I make Dollar Tree holiday meals. The first is that I only shop at one Dollar Tree on one day. If they don't have it, I work around it, I make do or do without. Number two, I have a $20 budget and that must feed at least 4 people. Usually within that budget, I'm trying to include an appetizer, a main course, 2 sides, and a dessert. And then lastly and most importantly, the only items I can use from home are oil, salt, and pepper. Let me take you along with me to Dollar Tree and let's pick up the ingredients that we need to make a Dollar Tree Easter dinner. The first thing on my mind is the main course, and there aren't a whole lot of options at Dollar Tree as far as this goes. They have some canned deviled ham spread. They have country ham, which I've shown in my Dollar Tree Thanksgiving dinner video, and then they have deli ham. At this store, they had the canned devil ham. They didn't have any country ham in stock, but I probably wouldn't have used that anyways, and so my best option in this case is the deli ham. So I did get a pack of the smoked deli ham. We also can't get whole raw potatoes at Dollar Tree, so I'm going to grab a bag of their frozen steak cut french fries. You'll see what I intend to do with those. Currently, I'm in the thought process of making a cream sauce for the potatoes, so the first thing I'm going to grab is a block of margarine for that. In order to make a roux, we'll also need some all-purpose flour, milk, and I was also thinking chicken broth. I wanted to make something like potatoes au gratin or scallop potatoes, even though I can't get potatoes, so that's why I got the steak cut french fries, but they also didn't have any cheese. All they had was the sliced cheese and the imitation shredded cheese, and I haven't tried that recently enough to know if it's changed, but we're just going to do without the cheese. I'm going to grab some green beans. At first, I grabbed 2 bags, but then I put one of them back just for variety's sake, so I'm only going to use 1 bag of green beans. For my appetizer, I was already on the mindset of making a bruschetta, so I saw garlic Texas toast and was like, oh, that will be perfect for the bruschetta. I also know that as I've done my What's New at Dollar Tree videos, that they've started carrying this balsamic vinaigrette, so I figured that would also be perfect. I'm going to pair that with some diced tomatoes, and as I'm shopping, I'm kind of reorganizing my cart every once in a while to make sure that I have the ingredients that I need for certain meals, but I'm also counting the ingredients in my cart because I know that for $20 I can get 16 ingredients at Dollar Tree, so I'm just double checking to make sure that I'm covering all of my bases here. For the green beans, I usually do green bean casserole, but we're trying to do a few different things this go around so that all of my holiday menus aren't the same. They didn't have any bacon in stock. I was thinking some southern style green beans, so I'm going to grab some smoked sausage instead. I'm sure you can also use breakfast sausage, but typically it's either bacon or smoked sausage. Sometimes it's country ham, it just depends. And then the next thing that I was looking for was a jar of minced garlic, just to add some flavor into some of the dishes that I was going to be making. So taking a bit of a pause to count the items in my cart, at this point in the shopping trip I have 12 items, which means that I still have 4 items left to buy. I'm going to use that as an opportunity to get another pack of deli ham, and then since I already have ingredients like milk and margarine, I'm going to throw in a box of macaroni and cheese to have a third side. So now I have 2 ingredients left and I'm shifting my focus to what can I make for dessert. And we don't have a whole lot of options in the 2 ingredient realm. I'm looking at my cart and I'm thinking, okay, I have flour, I have milk, I have margarine, so what can I buy that would potentially coordinate with those items? But another thing is that I don't have any sugar. So if I add sugar, then I only have 1 item that I can get. And I was definitely thinking about doing like a peach crisp or even getting some of this cherry pie filling to make some sort of a cobbler. I was looking at the cookie mix, which was a good option because I do have the margarine. Brownie mix is out of the question because it requires eggs to make it. And then we also have muffin mix. Those can make some fun desserts. Cake mix, but again, you need eggs for those. So I'm just kind of looking around and trying to get some ideas for the dessert. While I was brainstorming the dessert, I came across the country gravy mix and I've used these several times and they're pre-seasoned. I'm thinking to myself that the only reason I have flour is to make a roux for making the cream sauce for the potatoes, and I could potentially just replace the flour with the country gravy mix and it's already seasoned, so I felt like that was a good option. which now that I had the country gravy, I was thinking about giving up the margarine and the milk and the mac and cheese, but ultimately I did decide to keep those. So for the 2 ingredients that I allotted for dessert, I grabbed a package of chocolate chip cookie mix and some salted caramel Werther's candies. I was thinking about making some salted caramel stuffed chocolate chip cookies, and that is how I chose to spend my $20. I feel like the shopping is the best part and the most fun part of the process for me, and I'm glad that I can share that with you guys now. In the past, I've usually just gone shopping and then showed you what I got. But I think being able to dive into the mindset of why and how I shop for certain things. Of course, I go into Dollar Tree with a plan. I usually spend a solid day or two thinking about what recipes that I could potentially make. Like I knew going into Dollar Tree that I was going to make a bruschetta if they had the ingredients for that. There is some on the fly thinking while I'm at the store, but for the most part, I know going into it approximately what I'm going to do. Sometimes there are a few curveballs like Dollar Tree not having any block cheese in stock, but we just work around that. In this case, we're going to do without it. Overall, I am really happy with the ingredients that I was able to buy, and I think this is going to be a fantastic dinner. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So I think we're going to start with the bruschetta because that needs time to kind of marinate in the fridge. Reserve the tomato juice. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it for anything, but it can't hurt to at least set it aside. And these diced tomatoes from the can are pretty large chunks, so I'm going to cut them down a bit. Now, I do know that this is not in any means an authentic bruschetta. That's just my inspiration for it. I thought it would be a nice, like, little fresh kind of appetizer, a cold appetizer. And it's not something that I have ever done for any of my holiday menus in the past, so I thought it would be fun to try it. So these are kind of mashing up as I cut them, but that should be fine for what I'm trying to do. I'm going to toss those in a bowl. Along with a spoonful of our minced garlic. And I'm really just going to season that with some salt and pepper. If you have some basil or some Italian seasoning, you can add that as well. Then I'm going to cover that and let it chill in the fridge until dinner is ready. So I think next I'm going to prep the scallop potatoes. Not really scallop potatoes, but as close as I'm going to be able to get to scallop potatoes at Dollar Tree. You see me use this a lot, but I use steak cut french fries in place of potatoes, but the first step that I have to do is cut them down because, I don't know. I feel like for this dish I could probably avoid cutting them, but I'm still going to do it anyways. For my sauce for the potatoes, I'm using country gravy, again, because it's already seasoned, it's got bacon fat and stuff in it. I feel like it's a really good substitution for the traditional scallop potato topping, especially since I couldn't get cheese. Now this calls for 2 cups of water, but since I have some extra ingredients and a means to make this gravy a little bit richer, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start off with 2 tablespoons of margarine. I'm gonna replace half of the water with chicken broth. And the other half I'm gonna replace with milk. Then I'll add in my country gravy mix. Give it a stir while everything's still cold. Or room temperature in my case. And I'm just gonna let that cook until it's thickened up like a gravy. Hopefully this works. It's a good idea in my head and it makes a lot of sense in my head. So, all right, we're gonna pour our gravy over our potatoes. Make sure those are tossed a coat. This would be the point where I would add the cheese if I had some. I wanted to shred it up and put it on top for a nice like little coating. I'm gonna bake this at 400 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes or so. I think next we're gonna get started on the green beans, which is what I bought the smoked sausage for, as opposed to my traditional green bean casserole. Because we're trying to make this one different. We're trying to not make it like all of my other Dollar Tree holiday dinners. Trying to integrate some variety. But of course you can go back and watch any of those. If you want to watch my Dollar General Christmas dinner or my Dollar Tree Thanksgiving dinner, either of those would work for Easter as well, because they were both ham. Because there is nothing I can buy at Dollar Tree that is turkey. They used to sell canned turkey and they used to sell deli turkey, but I have not seen either of those at Dollar Tree in a hot minute. So the first thing I'm doing is finely dicing my smoked sausage. Bacon was my ideal choice, but Dollar Tree didn't have any bacon. I thought smoked sausage would work just as well. Maybe it'll be a little bit better. Into a pot, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of our margarine. I am also going to add a spoonful of our minced garlic. I totally meant to add garlic to the scallop potatoes, but I forgot. I was going to add some to the gravy. We're also going to go in with our diced smoked sausage, and I'm going to let that fry up for a little bit, get some color on it. That looks and smells really lovely, so I'm going to add in some chicken broth, a couple cups or so. I don't really have any use for this, but I'll leave a splash in the carton. And to that, I'm going to add in my green beans, which the green beans look better than the last time I got them. So just as they're boiling, check them for stems too. But I'm going to let that come up to a boil. Oh, there's a stem. I see one. I can pull that one off. For the ham, we have a couple of options because I could just fry them as slices. I've done that before when I did my Christmas dinner a couple years ago. I also did the ham roses around Thanksgiving time, and I do think for my Easter dinner that's what I'm going to do. I don't really have any new ideas on how to use the ham. I almost put it in with the potatoes and just made it a ham and potato casserole, but I feel like I do want to have the ham kind of separate and on the side so it's like serves as the main course. For this, I have the ham and I have a champagne glass or a narrow rimmed glass. These are fresh packs, so they have like 2 kind of packs, and I usually use about 1 of them for each rose. And this will give me a chance to try out a suggestion that you guys had during the Thanksgiving dinner, which was to bake them in muffin tins to see if that helps them hold their shape a little bit better, so I'll try that today. So we need 6 slices of ham per rose. The way I do it, fold it in half, stick it in the glass, and then flip it over the rim, and you're going to repeat that about every third or so. I'm kind of curious to see what this looks like with just 3 slices, so I can see if I can make potentially 12 roses, but I do think it looks better with 6. So let's go with our second layer. Same process, about a third of a turn each time. Now we're going to go in with the rest of our little deli hams. This is a cute way to present a really cheap ham option. And of course, if you're doing this, if you're just using this as inspiration, then, you know, you can nix the ham part if you're going to buy like a spiral ham or a ham steak or something like that. I just like to give you guys some dollar store options. But that is our, once you flip the cup, pull out your ham, that is the ham rose. Per your suggestion, I'm going to be cooking them in some muffin tins, kind of pressing them down in the center there so that hopefully they hold their ham shape while they bake. Although they did hold their ham shape. They did hold their ham shape without the muffin tin. I'm just trying to see if that makes it any better. So I'm going to repeat that for the other 3 packs of ham. These are technically already cooked because they're meant to be eaten as deli ham. So they're not going to take that long in the oven, maybe 10 to 15 minutes or so. I just like to get them a little brown and crispy on the edges. So I'm going to set them aside for now, and I'll toss them in the oven when dinner's just about ready. While I was working on the ham, this had come up to a boil, so I did just cover and simmer it. And it is a bit of a, it is a lot more smoked sausage than is green beans. Again, I would have preferred bacon, but I still think it'll be good. I still think it'll be delicious, and it's just extra protein, I guess you could say. And one of the last things to prep for dinner is going to be the mac and cheese. So I'm doing my one pot mac and cheese, which is so good, but it doesn't work with every mac and cheese. Like around Christmas time, I found out that didn't really work well with the Dollar General brand, but I already know it works well with the Kraft. There's a tablespoon of margarine. This all goes in the pot without the heat. A half cup of milk. Then 1.5 cups of water. Our box of pasta, macaroni, along with the cheese powder. All goes in the pot at one time. Give that a stir, and it's gonna look clumpy. Then we're gonna turn on the heat to medium-high and bring it up to a boil, stirring occasionally. As it comes up to a boil, the sauce is gonna smooth out. It's not gonna look as clumpy. Okay, that doesn't take very long at all. Again, just stir it every once in a while. Make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom. Make sure all the pasta is kind of separated. You can see how it's not clumpy anymore. It's nice and smooth and creamy. Then we're gonna reduce it to low, and I'm gonna let it simmer for 8 minutes, stopping to stir twice in that 8 minutes. And I do set a timer for this because you don't want the pasta to overcook. The mac and cheese is done. I'm gonna cover that and set it aside. I am also gonna take out the potatoes because those are nicely browned. I think they should be done. And I'm gonna set those aside to cool for a few minutes. We are on the home stretch, so the next step is going to be to bake our garlic bread. The garlic bread is for the bruschetta. All 6 of these down on a sheet pan. And at this point, they're pretty thawed because they've been sitting on my counter this whole time. So these need to bake, it says at 425. I'm going to do 400 since, again, they're thawed, and it says 5 to 6 minutes. I'm going to try to get them a little crispy for the bruschetta because typically it is served on very crispy bread. So I think more realistically, these are going to be baked for somewhere between 10 to 15 minutes or so, which is also the perfect amount of time to bake our little ham roses too. So I'm going to pop those in alongside the garlic bread. I almost forgot that one of the reasons I set aside some of this chicken broth was to add it into the ham to keep them nice and moist. So I'm going to drizzle some of that in there. Just a little drizzle of broth in each one. Okay. Pop those back in. And with that, there is only one last thing to prep, which is going to be our cookies. I am doing salted caramel stuffed cookies. I think this is going to be great, but I've never tried it before. So we're just going to mix up this cookie dough according to the package instructions. So the packet of mix, along with 4 tablespoons of softened margarine and 1 tablespoon of water. Let me see how many caramels come in this. I'm trying to make 8 cookies so that each person can have 2, and it looks like it comes with 10, which is perfect. So we have one of our little Werther's candies here. I'm gonna unwrap it, take a chunk of our cookie dough. If your hands are wet, the dough won't stick to your hands. And I'm gonna wrap the dough around the caramel, making sure that it's fully encased in cookie dough. So I did get exactly 6 cookies, and I'm kind of changing my mind on how I want to do this slightly because I don't want 6 cookies for 4 people. So I think I'm actually going to make it into cookie bars and bake it all together so I can cut it into 4 slices. So I'm going to start by greasing one of my little pans here with some margarine. I was thinking about doing cookie bars to begin with, but then I thought I would do the stuffed cookies, but going back to doing the bars. Just being a little indecisive is all. So I'm going to take my prepped cookies and place them in the baking dish. And I'm going to press them down to form a layer on the bottom, which hopefully works. They are a little on the soft side right now. Definitely probably should have just did the cookies, but I'm sure it'll be fine. I may or may not have snacked on the extra caramels, but I do have one that I can kind of nestle over here. And we're gonna see how this turns out. Let me try to use the plastic wrap again. Kind of flatten it out a bit. I think it'll still be good. I'm hoping. But then at least I can cut it into 4 equal pieces. So we'll see. Flip over our garlic toast, which is perfectly browned. I might try to brown it a bit more on the other side. All right, I think it is time to plate up and serve our Dollar Tree Easter dinner. Let's do it on this tray, 4 slices. There are 2 extras. I'm gonna top that with some of our tomato, garlic, salt, and pepper mixture. And there's also garlic on the bread as well as some Italian seasoning, so. And I have some of this balsamic, I think it's a vinaigrette, but it says it's a seasoning for salads. So I'm gonna drizzle some of that on top too. I'm gonna be pretty light-handed on that. Am I supposed to shake that first? Oh, maybe? I'm gonna give it a shake, just in case. Yeah, I think I was supposed to shake it. Oh well, it'll be fine. Okay. So there's our bruschetta. All right, time to get ourselves a plate. Let's start with some of our green beans, which have slow simmered in garlic, chicken broth, and some smoked sausage. So those should be amazing. The potatoes, I'm completely unsure about whether they're gonna turn out, but we'll find out. This was definitely an experiment for me, as most of my stuff is. Just trying to see what works and what doesn't. This is no exception, but as far as a casserole goes, it does hold its shape just fine. Also gonna grab myself a nice scoop of mac and cheese. And one of our beautiful little ham roses. I'll just kind of nestle that in the corner between the potatoes and the mac. And that's a pretty big full plate of food. And then of course we have our bruschetta. So I'm gonna start by trying that because I am very excited to try this. I've never had wow, tongue twister. Because I am very excited to try this. I have never made a Dollar Tree bruschetta before. I've actually never made bruschetta in general. So let's see how this turned out. I think that has a lovely light flavor. For being like an appetizer or a starter, I think it's actually pretty perfect because I think it'll balance out some of the heavier elements of our dinner, like the potatoes and the mac and cheese. And it's really refreshing and crisp. The tomatoes don't have a very acidic flavor to them. They're very well balanced. I'm not quite sure how much of this balsamic vinegar taste I'm getting from this. I'm definitely getting a vinegary taste. I'm gonna add a little bit more just to see, because I want to try this kind of. It is there, but it's very light. It's not very pungent. It's more, it doesn't have a very strong balsamic vinegar flavor, but as you can see, it also wasn't a very dark color coming out of the bottle. So the number one ingredient is water, and then it's balsamic vinegar, and then wine vinegar. So I'm not quite sure. It's not that strong. It's not very overpowering. But it does pair well with the tomatoes. And despite that these are canned tomatoes and not fresh tomatoes, they don't have like a canned metallic taste to them or anything like that. Usually I would use them for cooking, but I've never really eaten them cold or raw, for lack of a better term. But I think that this actually turned out really nice, and this would definitely be something I would make again. I think it's a perfect starter to a meal. So I'm gonna start with the green beans because I'm really excited to see how my like little Southern style green beans turned out with the smoked sausage in there. They are almost perfect. They are kind of missing onion. Onion's pretty traditional, and I could have gotten a bag of their pepper and onion stir fry and added that in there. I do feel like the onion lends a lot to Southern style green beans, but I think that they're great. Like, the green beans are soft. I love soft green beans. If you've ever had green beans from like Mission Barbecue or any sort of a barbecue place, this kind of is reminiscent of that. The smoked sausage does add a lot of flavor into this. I think it pairs really well with the green beans. I think that along with the garlic and the chicken broth really takes like a normal vegetable and makes it more of a holiday vegetable. It's really a treat, a good special occasion. This is great. I'm really glad that I tried to do that. That was great. I've been meaning to make Southern style green beans from Dollar Tree for a minute now. And onto our potatoes, which I am kind of unsure about. Hopefully they're good, but all right, let's grab a bite of that. That country gravy flavor is kind of strong. Since there are scallop potatoes and then there are potatoes au gratin, and the difference between those two are supposed to be cheese, I was kind of leaning towards these scallop potatoes, which when you make scallop potatoes, you're really just making a cream gravy type of sauce. Butter, flour, and milk and some seasonings, and that gets poured over top of the potatoes and it bakes into the potatoes. So in my mind, the country gravy is very similar to that in the sense that it is just butter, flour, milk, and then some seasonings, but it does still kind of taste like country gravy. It's not off-putting in any sort of way. It's just not what I expected. And I know that you're thinking to yourself like, well, yeah, it's country gravy. It's going to taste like country gravy. But things can taste differently depending on what you put them on. So I thought that pairing it with potatoes would give it a bit of a different flavor, but it still tastes like it belongs on a biscuit. It's not bad though in any sort of way. It just doesn't taste like scallop potatoes. It is very much its own thing. It tastes like French fries with gravy. So I guess in a sense it's kind of like a Southern style poutine casserole. Yeah, potatoes are nice and tender. The gravy has a nice flavor to it. It's very well seasoned. It just doesn't taste like I expected it to taste like. That's all. Now, as far as the macaroni and cheese and the ham, those are both things that I have made several times and tried several times, so I won't take up too much of your time with this. But that is still and will forever be my favorite way to make mac and cheese in this one pot, no drain style. It's so thick, it's very creamy. It's definitely better when it's fresh. Mine's been sitting for a little while because I'm filming, I'm taking thumbnail pictures and things like that. To create the magic of the video, mine has to sit a little bit longer, which isn't ideal, but it still works, it's still great. And then last but not least, we have our little ham roast here again. I've done Dollar Tree deli ham a lot of time. I'm not going to take up too much of your time with this, but in case there's anyone new who's tuning in, I always want to try it and just show you that, like, I don't just make this meal for clout. I do enjoy the food, and I try to make sure that any information that I'm putting out there, especially related to Dollar Tree food, is something that I would eat myself. Stirring it like pasta. Okay, there we go. There's a better piece of the ham roast. The smoked ham has a really good flavor, and then I did add a little bit of chicken broth to it for moisture, but what I really want to point out is, like, when you do it in this rose shape, you get these kind of charred edges here, and I feel like that makes it taste less like a deli ham and more like a carved ham because it gives it that oven baked flavor. So far, my favorite part of this meal is actually the bruschetta, which I'm kind of surprised by because I didn't know how good that was going to turn out, especially considering it was made with canned tomatoes and not fresh tomatoes, but we still have the cookies to try. Which I baked this at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes, and interestingly enough, the caramels kind of like came to the surface somehow. I do regret not cooking them as cookies. I think it would have turned out a little bit better, but you know, I did explain my reasons for trying to do it as a bar. I'm gonna try it, but I think I might revisit this later and try it as cookies and see if that turns out. So let's go ahead and cut this into 4 equal pieces. The first slice, I feel like, is always the hardest one to get out of anything. Yep, and that just kind of, yep. I definitely should have just made cookies. I guess we're gonna try that again, maybe with a different slice. So yeah, I don't think that the bars really worked out. That turned out a little bit better, but it is also slightly underbaked, I think. I feel like this shows that you win some and you lose some, and sometimes good ideas don't always pan out the way that you want them to, but I don't strive for perfection, I strive for realism, and that means showing you when my ideas don't really quite work out the way that I want them to. I think that if I had done them as cookies, it would have turned out a lot better, but we're gonna try it anyways. And you know what? You could even eat this as a skillet. If you're willing to split a cookie skillet between you and your family, then if you wanted to do it in the bar format like I did here, you're probably just gonna wanna eat it with a fork directly out of the baking dish. Got some chocolate, we got some cookie, we got some caramel. I don't think you need me to tell you that a chocolate chip cookie with a salted caramel candy built into it is delicious. Unless of course you don't like chocolate chip cookies or you don't like salted caramels, in which case this dessert probably isn't for you. But overall, I'm really pleased with this dinner. It is not my best holiday dinner. It's not my favorite holiday dinner. I try to be a little bit innovative and sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't, but that is okay. I learned something from every single one of these dinners that I put together, and really that's the point of it, is to kind of challenge myself to work within the budget, to come up with as many practical dishes as I possibly can within that budget. And a lot of times that translates into ideas that I can use down the road with future meal plans or future holiday menus. Easter isn't like a major holiday like Christmas or Thanksgiving, so I'm okay with saying that it's not my best work. But I will definitely be making that bruschetta for future holiday menus. I thought that was fantastic. Although that's going to be dependent on them continuing to sell this balsamic. That was a really great start to Easter. I do want to do a couple of more Easter related videos as we get closer to that holiday. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day and I will see you again soon.